So another funny experience that you have in church that I grew up with, and this one is a doozy because it involves yours truly. Didn't mean to rhyme there, by the way. But my dad was a pastor. I grew up in church, and our church in Douglas at the time, we were going through some changes on our staff, so we had to have an interim youth pastor. And I say interim because when I tell you what happened, you're gonna understand real quick why the interim didn't become the permanent. So we had a really strong youth group, really good youth group, and I was in it, my cousin was in it. We were fairly popular, so I had a lot of kids we were bringing with us. And so this guy that was interim youth pastor at the time was trying to make a point. He wanted to make a point that really spoke to the young people. You know, you would never do this in adult church, but everybody knows the rule of thumb. You can get away with stuff back in youth church that you can't do in adult church. Everybody knew that, right? And if you ever grew up in youth group, you know what I'm talking about.
I did not know that.
Yes, you can get away with more in youth group. And so he's like, how can I? He wanted to really relate to us. So he was going to preach a message, and the idea was to not do bad things, right? Not to participate in sin. But he also knew, and I get what he was trying to accomplish, that when you're younger, some of the things that are tempting and the peer pressure things really are stupid. But when we encounter these things for the first time in our life, they seem really large and huge, and they have this big importance. So what he was trying to do was show that there ain't nothing to it. So why act like it's a big deal? Well, don't be tempted by something that's just stupid. But his intention was right, but his method was way wrong. So what he decided to do, he thought it'd be a good idea, that the way to prove, hey, smoking ain't cool, guys. Smoking ain't cool. There's nothing to it. I don't know why you making this big deal. Why would you want to smoke? So instead of just talking about it, he thought it'd be a good idea to take me as the pastor's son. You don't ask a pastor's son, would your dad be okay with this? You don't say, hey, am I gonna get in trouble with this to the pastor's son? I'm here for a party. I wanna have a good time in the youth group. Whether I'm not gonna tell you you get in trouble or not. I wanna go as far as we can. I'm 16, I've been in church my whole life. I've never even held a cigarette. This is a good idea to me. I wanna experience life a little bit, So as I can tell you what, Josh, we're gonna pull you back there, and I'm gonna say, smoking cigarettes ain't cool, there ain't nothing to it. Matter of fact, to prove it, Josh, show them there ain't nothing to it. And I want you to light up a cigarette, and I want you to take just like a single puff, and it's nasty, and put it away. I said, okay, I got you. He said it, and I'm gonna crack open a beer, and I'm gonna take a sip. Which, you hear it now. I mean, obviously, that wouldn't fly even today, but back in 2002, I promise you this ain't gonna fly in a small town, South Georgia church, here in our youth pastors, drinking beers, and got the preacher's kid out here smoking in front of everybody. And so he cracks up and says, drinking ain't nothing, alcohol's nasty, watch. And he drinks about half the beer, and I think his college days took over because he was going to drink a sip. But he ends up drinking half of it, and he kind of like when he realizes, crap, what am I doing? But he still finishes with the can smash in his hand, like, and puts it down. And he didn't know, like, a burp takes place. That what place? So that's not, and that ain't it either. And the kids right now got eyes this big, like, oh my God, everybody in the world knows. And he's sweating bullets. I think at this time he knows he's made a mistake. And he says, Josh, show him these smoking cigarettes ain't cool, man. Josh, show him. Well, I told him what I would do. But as I lit the cigarette, it was. He's like, that's enough, Josh, that's enough. I smoked the whole cigarette as fast, and as my fingers were burnt, I was smoking it so fast, the heat from the flame was hitting my lungs, And so by the end of it, here's what you have. You have the youth pastor, he's drunk a beer, and the preacher's kid has smoked the whole cigarette. And yes, I paid for it later that night because I was as sick as a dog as that nicotine ravaged my body. And I think God used it as a teachable moment for me, so it wasn't all there. Needless to say, he didn't become our full-time youth pastor. I don't think that he ever taught the youth group ever again after that night. So yeah, you get away with some things in youth group. Some of y'all have these stories, but there's that line, and we definitely crossed that night. And so good thing is it ruined cigarettes for me. I'll never touch another one and haven't since.
I'm just trying to figure out if I've been doing youth group wrong.
We don't want them to, God, you don't want this weed.